Yeah. Up.
Yeah, there you are.
There we go. I got the questions right here in the journal.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunar Knight's Q&A with special guest star Christopher Robin Miller.
Hey.
Yeah, we kind of met at Fan World, and I'm really excited to talk to him because it's been a while since he, emailed me, but
It's been a while since we visited.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great talking to you again.
Well, likewise, it's good to talk to you again.
Now, sorry.
No, go for it. This is your world.
Okay, first question.
Yes, sir.
How did you get the part of Christopher Robin Miller? I mean, Professor Layton.
Well, in fact, it was like most voiceover auditions. It was just one of those that came across the desk of my agent, and they asked me to submit for it. And I imagine that hundreds or even thousands of people were submitting for it, and I was fortunate enough to have my audition listened to and chosen. I was here in Salt Lake, and I think all over the country they were looking for a voice actor to play that part, and they were I think they were doing it through a studio in Seattle called Bad Animals, and they listened to it and they called and booked me for it, along with the Nintendo people that were up there in Washington that are just north of Seattle. And I ended up playing the part of Professor Layton and Don Paolo, his archenemy, and Inspector Chelmy, who's a little bit of his foil. He's the reluctant ally.
Oh, so you got to play 3 characters.
Yes, I played all 3 of those characters in several of the games, and it was really a blast. It was really a blast. And when I did that first one, it was literally only 2 lines on a page. And it was something about a true gentleman must always, and whatever, it was fill in the blank. And then something that was a very fatherly type warning. Something about being careful, and it was referring to Luke, who was the young boy. And as soon as I saw it, those lines, for some reason, they just spoke to me. I kind of knew who the guy was. But really, even after all of that, it's really luck of the draw, because with that many people submitting, it's the fact that they heard me, that they even got to my audition, and then that they chose me. It was really fun, really fun. I've had a great time doing that voice.
Now, how did you become an actor?
I became, from the time I was a little boy, when I was like 3, I knew I wanted to either be a clown or a Muppeteer or a visual artist, and I was drawing all the time. I was sick a lot, and I had a lot of allergies when I was a little boy, so I was indoors quite a bit. And so I would draw all the time, and I would draw the things that I saw on television. And if I went to a doctor's appointment, or if I went somewhere that day, I would always end up drawing drawings about whatever I saw and experienced. And so I was always looking for ways to kind of take whatever I experienced, and I would try to express it through drawing. And even back then, when I would hear a voice, like if I was watching Sesame Street and I'd hear those different Muppet voices, like many kids, I was always trying to do the voices and talk like the character and remember the little sketches that they did and things like that. And so from the time I was 3, I started pushing to get opportunities to be on stage to perform. And it really kicked in when I was about 14, and I did a television show called Kids Incorporated. That was my first contract professional gig where I was getting paid. And that spoiled me for all the teenage jobs I had, like when you work at Taco Bell and you work at the shoe store. And I did all of those things too, but I was like, man, this sucks compared to being on TV. and, and I really loved it. And I did theater all through my teen years too, where I was a singer, actor, dancer, and I did musical theater.
Oh, you can sing too?
Uh-huh. Yep. I sing and I dance. Ballet, tap, and jazz. I was trained for years in all of those. I toured with Ballet West.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always been performing, and it was a great way to get the energy out and I guess to get the attention that any performer is always looking for. Always that, hey, look what I can do. So I've always been a performer one way or another. Yeah. And it's been for over 4.5 decades that I've been acting. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I looked up on your IMDb page that you were nominated for a award for Best Animated Voice Actor in a Video Game.
Yeah.
How was that, and how did you feel on being nominated?
I was super excited, especially when I saw either the first or second time that I was nominated that I was in the same category as Tim Curry.
Oh, wow.
Like one of my heroes. So for me, I didn't even know about it until after it had happened. And when I heard about that, I thought, oh, that's cool. They nominated me. And then I went, Tim Curry! And I was so fanboying out about that I didn't even think about the fact that I was nominated. Because
like how I'm fanboying now, so it's talking to you.
That's nice of you. That's very nice of you. But I'll tell you what, Tim Curry is like one of my favorite actors. Well, there's so many good actors out there, and I know that they're just people, but I do really get kind of geeked out when I think of the fact that I was in the same category as him. I was like, that's just crazy. So, yeah, love it. I loved it. And I that was very satisfying to me.
Now, I hear you do a British accent for Professor Layton. Do you
Yes.
do other accents, or?
I do, and I also, there's like 10,000 different dialects in the UK, so I do a lot of British accents, and I do quite a few others that I do all the time, whether it's for commercial campaigns or when I've acted in movies. When I was doing the Mythica movies where I was a dwarf, I did what you often hear from them, which is they end up doing kind of a mixed, mashed up, just sort of Celtic something. It's usually half Scottish, half Irish.
Yeah, so you did you were like a little.
And so I don't have to worry about doing an accurate. Yeah, I don't have to do an accurate accent. I just sort of talk very much like this for all of it, and I put a lot of texture in my voice, that sort of thing, and a lot of glottal stops in the middle of my words, and I have fun with that accent. I love it a lot. And I've done, a lot of European accents. I've done German and French and Italian accents for a lot of different jobs. And it all started just by mimicking, just by listening, and then looking for the common rules of the way pronunciation plays out. And I'm not always perfect, but I do know that when native speakers say that I'm very convincing, that's very gratifying to me. So
yeah, that is.
If you're gonna mimic, if you're gonna mimic, you just make sure that you find people who are really good at it that you're mimicking, so you don't learn how to do it poorly.
Yeah. I remember the one voice acting class you taught in the convention where you taught me how to talk Texan.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people, they start doing a southern accent where everything kind of drops off at the end like that, and they confuse that with Texan, and with Texan you got to start to put the hard R's in there. It becomes a twang, that kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Doing
Yeah, it
those.
was. I didn't even know I could voice act.
Well, of course, it's something that most people have the equipment to do. If they can speak, they can probably voice act as long as as you know how to communicate. And then when it comes to reading copy that you've never read before and being able to do it at conversational speed, I tell students most of the time that the first thing that they need to work on is their ability to read in real time without struggling. And then if they can do that, then they can put some of their minds and their body's attention on the other things that bring it to life. So, reading aloud is just the biggest part of it, really.
Yeah, it's now. Do you get like fan mail saying from your student blank blank or?
Once in a while, I have. Most of the time, once people get to know me, they reach out to me via email and just, hey, Chris, what's going on? Let's do this and that. I've become friends with a lot of people who started out as fans, and some of them have become students, and then we become friends and socialize from time to time. I do know I've had to apologize before to people who I haven't gotten back to for a long time, just because life is busy.
Yeah, I can hear that.
And it is for everybody. It's not just for people that do high profile gigs. We all have really busy lives. I'm sure you're always busy.
Yeah, with work and my projects and
Yeah.
finding people to do interviews with and
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a kick, isn't it? I mean, it's something that you love, so you prioritize the time and attention and effort to it. And, I really love it. I still teach voiceover workshops a couple times a year, even at my place, at my studio.
oh
And,
wow.
and I prepare people to become voice actors to compete for voiceover work. And it's a very competitive field, but if you learn the things that I learned from, master teachers and directors that I've had the good fortune to work with, and I pass that information along, people are often able to turn it into some really fun work. And even whether it's getting paid projects and getting paid to do it, or whether it's taking their passion projects and being able to do it more quickly and better, it's beneficial to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did Level 5 Studio and Nintendo let you play any of the Professor Layton games or?
The producers gave me some of the first ones. In fact, let me see if I can find what I've got here. I was given Curious Village and Diabolical Box and Miracle Mask, but I don't have any of the others yet, and I don't even have a Nintendo DS to play them with yet. But yeah, I have those, and I plan to try to bribe somebody up there at Nintendo, see if they'll send them to me, or see if I can get some kind of little special discount.
Gotta say you're on the game, and then they'll say, "Oh, really? What game?" And then they say Professor Layton, and then they'll just say, "Oh, okay, can you sign this?" And
heck yeah, I will definitely do that. Maybe I'll have you call them for me. It might do better than if I call. Always helps to have a go-between, right?
right. I actually know a friend at GameStop that might sell Professor Layton games.
Oh, that's exciting. That is exciting. I remember there was a time when I went in the store with some of my stepkids, and they actually had a display where they had Professor Layton playing on one of the DSs, And the kid, and as my boys walked by, they were like, they heard my voice coming out of somewhere on the other side of the store. Like, what's going on? You're right here, Chris. And then they walked over and went, oh, it's you in this game. And they started playing it. And, that was really, really fun. But yeah, I need to learn, see how far I can get through these games myself. I'm going to have to call somebody up, see if I can. While anybody still remembers my name, I'm going to have to make sure I reach out to them and say, hey, because I would love to have all of those. I also have something that I was given by a friend who runs a huge convention out in Detroit, Morgan Collin, who does YumaCon. YumaCon. It's amazing. And way back when, he got me this, the Revoltech Professor Layton.
Now,
Posable.
when he gave that to you, how did you react to that?
I was blown away. I was like, whoa, look at that. That's just so exciting. I haven't even taken it out of the box.
Yeah, it's a collector's item.
Yeah, that thing is just amazing. I love it. It reminds me of when I was a little boy, like the $6 Million Man doll there was a bad guy called Maskatron in it. See, it has different faces. Right. It had a different face where you could put a different face on him. There wasn't just a different expression. It was to disguise him to look like another guy. But yeah, that was exciting when I got that. I thought, woo, I really hit the mother lode there. So Morgan Collin is quite a nice guy, and he runs a beautiful convention out there in Detroit.
Yeah, some of my friends wanted to do like a road trip to around the United States, and I don't know, maybe if that con's still running, maybe I can go to it.
I'm sure it will be. It usually runs close to Halloween. It runs either at the end of October, beginning of November. And it is a real kick. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get back out there because that was just so much fun. I've been a few times and got to hang out with my buddies, Todd Habercorn, and hang out with Vic, and they're just great guys.
Yeah, I might try to ask him for an interview, but I don't know if he'll say yes or.
Yeah. Hey, they're busy guys, but you know what? They love their fans, and they're usually more than happy to talk to anybody. Yeah, because they love it just as much as we do. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give someone that wanted to act like someone young or someone old that wanted to act?
Well, I would say take as many different opportunities to act as you can. I would do community theater. I would do high school plays. I would act in short films that my friends are directing. I would set up a little home studio and record voices. I would take classes from people who are working, and they have proven techniques, because you can tell they get hired as actors and directors, and they do the work. And you can find great stuff online too. And yes, sometimes it'll cost a little bit of money. Don't go spending thousands and thousands of dollars, though. It should only be hundreds.
Right.
That's my opinion. It shouldn't be equal to like a house mortgage or buying a car. It should be enough that it's kind of significant, but
right.
Shouldn't break your bank. And there's so many people out there to learn from. And there's great information out there. There's several books out there too that are wonderful that actors should read. specifically in voiceover. There's James Alberger and Penny Abshire books. There's Susan Blue's. There's gosh, there's just so many. You could even just Google voiceover books, and you could. In fact, if you do that and you have any questions about them, you could always just email me, and I'll tell you which ones I think are awesome.
Okay,
And you
I'll
can
do
share
that.
that with listeners, yeah. Anything that Patrick Fraley, and he goes around the country. Yeah, he's just an amazing character voice actor, and I think he's the most prolific voice acting teacher in the business. And he's an Emmy Award winning, just brilliant voice actor and voice teacher.
So he knows more about the production than anyone else.
Well, I think he knows more about the character work, which is something that I teach too.
Right.
But I just think he's the best. And when I discovered one of his books on tape, and I literally mean on tape, I'm so old. This is when a book an audio book was on cassette tapes that you'd play in your car. I discovered that all the things that I thought I had invented or discovered on my own, he'd already done it 20 years ago and found an even more concise way to say it. And that was actually very gratifying to me, because at first I was disappointed, like, oh, I didn't invent that. He already did. But then I thought, wow, I came up with the same techniques and same approaches as a guy who did it years ago and has been doing it successfully for decades. So, I thought, okay, good, I'm onto something here. And you can always learn from somebody else.
Right.
No matter where you are in your career, you always find coaches and people to work with.
Like how I found you at Fan World.
Yeah. And there's so many. In fact, there's a lot of those actors that do stuff at Funimation in Dallas. A lot of them teach voice acting classes too, and they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful, and they're just delightful people too. So.
Note to self: go to Dallas.
Yeah. Well, and those guys travel around everywhere too. They're at all the conventions. They're at all the conventions around the country. And you can find them and find out when they're going to be in, our part of the country, and then say, hey, set up a little afternoon workshop thing. I want to come do it, and they'll be happy to. So, yeah. There's so many resources. What have you done, incidentally? I'm going to turn the interview around on you. What have you, so far, how many ways have you learned and different things have you learned about as you're putting your projects together? How have you learned from people?
I learned that it could be challenging.
Yeah.
Well, I learned from John Stalker, the same guy that went to Fan World with you. He told me that I should do everything by myself first, and then hire people later on, and see what I'm good at, see what I'm not good at, and if I need help, someone that is pretty good at it, and hopefully I can learn from them. And I also read books about writing and directing and how to draw certain scenes in a show or a movie.
Absolutely. And also volunteering and being an assistant to people who are really good at this stuff and just soaking it up whenever you can is also a good way to learn new things too, and to build new relationships. That used to be really the way to break into the business, was to be the gopher. It was like, I'll go for coffee, I'll go for reams of paper for the office. They're the person that they send on errands, and that way you make yourself useful to people, and then you get to sit in on their meetings and learn about how they do things. That's one of the best ways.
This is kind of embarrassing, but I actually emailed Cartoon Network and see if they would take my idea for the show.
Yeah.
and they didn't answer me back, so they probably didn't take it.
Yeah. Well, uh, um, networks and talent agencies and things like that, their first response is always going to be no or to ignore you. You
Right.
often know that you're working with a legitimate company when they kind of treat you like a jilted girlfriend. You'll be like,
Yeah.
hey, why don't you pay attention to me? And they just ignore you. That's usually the people that you want to be with. Um, it's kind of the opposite of the way it is in real life. You don't want to spend your time with people that are trying to ignore you. but, but in this business, if someone pays attention to you right away, there's two possibilities. Either you're super amazing or they're just hoping to get some money out of you. And hey, there's nothing wrong with money, but if it's just to take yours and not to give you what you want, which is
Right.
representation and work, then that's a problem. So that's okay if they don't respond to the first or the 10th or the 50th thing. Um, that's the
Yeah.
way it goes. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. When I started acting as an adult, I went to 5 different agencies just in Salt Lake in Utah alone, and I was told that I didn't have the height or the looks to work in the industry. And I remember saying to the last one, I said, "Well, I don't really want to be a talking model. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be a spokesman for tooth polish or something like that. I'm an actor." And I eventually got a gig. And then when I already had the gig, I went back to one of those agents and said, I want somebody to handle me getting paid for this because I already have the gig. And that's when they went, oh, because then it was for a percentage. They were happy to take me on.
Right.
Uh, when I went to them without a job already, they didn't care. They were like, no, see ya, dude. So that's how I ended up getting an agent, was showing up with already having a gig that I was going to get paid for. And after that, I was able to prove myself. And I've been with them I've been with an agency since then. The agent that I've been with since their inception is now 24 years old, and I've been with them since day one.
Oh, wow.
And those agents came from the agency that I got before, and I was with them for about 5 years. So I've been doing this for almost 30 years as an adult for a living. And, it's and now a lot of people are getting work online and they're doing it directly themselves and things like that. But I still like
Yeah.
working for
I actually found this website called Casting Calls Club, and
hmm.
that's where I've got some of my voice actors and
Yeah,
some future friends.
sure.
That's that's how I first got started into the industry, and
Yeah. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of those online clearinghouses that kind of facilitate people doing work. Um, I still like to use my agency. And then I have representation in other markets too. I have a producer in New York that runs a production house, and he has a small little boutique group of voice actors that he likes to use all the time, and he calls me up when he wants things, and I love working with him. Uh, and I have a manager in LA that's a wonderful person, and I work through her sometimes, and yeah, you know, that's how it goes, and it's all really based on relationships.
yeah, you need a good relationship to have a good career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess that's all the questions I have for you. If I
Well,
have
that's
more,
cool.
I'll contact you.
Yeah. So where is it that you live?
North Tonawanda, New York.
Oh, okay, very cool. My dad's originally from uh, uh, a part of Connecticut that was like right on the border of New York, of upstate New York, near Scarsdale,
Oh, wow.
and and um, and in fact, his childhood home, that's from where he was born in the 30s, is still there. We looked it up on Google Maps, and I thought, man, I would really love to go with my dad back to New York and have him show me around. Of course, it's all changed since he was young, but it would
Yeah,
be a real kick to head back there. In fact, if I did, I think we ought to visit. I ought to make sure that I call you up and we go somewhere and get something to eat and hang out.
that'll be great.
Yeah, I'm always looking for a reason to come out to New York.
Well, there's always well, you see, my library has a convention like every year,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love it if you would like to come, and I just gotta figure out what date it will be because
Yeah,
it's in the summer, so
sure. Oh, let's figure it out. Any excuse for me to do that would be a real kick. Hey, if I can call it a business trip, all the better, right?
yeah,
That's cool. In fact, the last time I was out there, I was out at Niagara Falls at uh,
right.
at that convention, and that was such a kick. I had so much fun there. Um, so yeah, I mean, let's get together next time I'm out on the East Coast.
That'll be great, and I could show you the some sites and places that you would love to. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm really excited now because
I think that would just be grand. I think that would be just a delight. And my wife and daughter are going to want to come too. They're going to go, hey, you're not going without us, pal. So
right,
they're tired of me taking trips and then telling them it's beautiful here while they're at home.
yeah, man,
So I better take them along or they're going to kill us all in the face, as they say. Uh, Hey, it was great talking to you. I'm so glad that you thought of me. I'm flattered that you decided to reach out and have a chat with me.
yeah, and thanks for doing the interview.
My
It
pleasure.
was
Anytime.
really sorry, it was really great that you did that. So thank you.
Certainly, my pleasure.
Well, this has been Lunar Knight signing off.
Thanks, Brad.
No problem. And